Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thanks to Sports Interactive once again giving me early access to the game this year. I'm able to have a bit of a first look and take you through some of the things that I've really enjoyed. There's a lot of really good additions to the game this year, a lot of improvements to the game this year, and if you want a full breakdown of that, there is a really good blog section on the Sports Interactive website, which does take you through everything that's been changed in this year's game and everything that has been added as well. So go check that out, give them a read. They're really well written, really well done. And if you want a deeper look into what the game is going to be like this year, that's the best place to do it. I must add, this is a alpha build of the game, so some things may not be representative of the final version, but thanks once again to Sports Interactive for giving me access to the game and allowing me to bring you this video before the game's release. Now, as I mentioned, there are a ton of additions, new features, changes this year that make the game feel so much better, but the big thing for me, as it is every year, is making tactics. I love trying to recreate tactics. I like trying to make tactics that shouldn't work, or figuring out how to fix things that aren't working as they should be. I love getting in the tactical mind and trying to tactically recreate things in the engine, and this year it is so good. There's so many additions, so many little tweaks that you can do to recreate and create interesting, fun, experimental tactics. And I'm going to take you through some of the reasons how and some of the things that I've been doing whilst I've been playing this game in early access. And here we have it, my favourite part of the game, my favourite screen in Football Manager, the tactics screen. Now, there has been a load of under the hood changes, a few tweaks to player roles and what they can do and how those roles interact with each other, as well as obviously the completely overhauled set piece engine and set piece creator. That is something that can be its entire own video, and I'm sure it will be by a certain American YouTuber, and something I will probably delve into myself at some point this year. But as I say, on the face of it, it looks very similar to last year's and the season before, but the changes are underneath the hood. And that starts with a couple of brand new and tweaked roles. So as you can see, I've kind of set up a Pep style system that he was using last year. We've got the inverted fullback on defend. Now these will sit narrower and make up a back three or a situational back three, allowing you to create that 3-box-3 system that not only Pep was using last year in Man City, but a lot of teams seem to be using this year to try and really take control of the midfield. I kind of bodged it a bit last year in being able to do it with inverted wingbacks, but this year, with the new wide libero role and the inverted fullbacks on defend, you can actually get it so that the centre-back will step into midfield, a la John Stones, and you will end up with a situational back three in possession, allowing you to kind of really recreate those tactics that you see, like I say, Pep Guardiola, but also Mikel Arteta likes to use something similar with a fullback or a defender stepping up into midfield. There's a lot of other teams trying the same thing as well. Another thing having this non-central libero allows you to do as well is have one of your wide centre-backs step up into midfield, looking to play line-breaking passes or just kind of be another pivot in that midfield. You can actually do that now, so you can set up a back five with one of the wide centre-backs moving into midfield, because obviously the wide centre-back role more pulls them out to the wing and makes them act like a wing-back. So that's really nice. Another addition that allows you to, again, just recreate real-life tactical systems that you see real-life managers using. You can now implement that in the game, and it's going to be very exciting. I'm really looking forward to what kind of wild and wacky things I can create with this tactical engine. Whilst we're on the subject of the libero as well, there has been a slight tweak. So previously there was a libero support and a libero attack. Now it's a libero defend and libero support. It feels like the libero defend is a little bit more reserved than the support, but not necessarily a defensive role, because they will step up into midfield and be that pivot. It feels like the support goes a little bit further than the support used to. So the old attack role had them running up and running into the box. Support felt like it kind of sat in midfield as a pivot. Here, it looks like they're going to push forward and look to play through balls through the lines. So that's slightly more attacking side of a libero, getting a centre-back up the pitch, playing the balls through to your creators and your wide players, looking to overload that central channel. One of the more subtle under-the-hood changes that I really like the look of is the tweaks they've made to the winger roles. So now you don't necessarily have to have your wingers, so your standard wingers on support or attack, you don't have to have them cutting inside or running wide with the ball. They ain't going to be hugging the touchline all the time. They aren't going to be cutting inside all the time like they might be if you use an inverted winger or an inside forward. You can now have them do either. So you can have your winger, you know, for example, hug the touchline, keep it wide, but when they get closer to the box, cut inside and run at a defender. You still have the choice of where they cross from, so you could theoretically have someone stay wide, get further forward, but cut it inside and crossing from the byline. So that's a combination of instructions that you couldn't do previously with wide players. So looking to get into that channel, looking to get to the byline, and maybe cut it back to a far post or to the centre, crossing from the byline. And again, I'm really excited at how we can use this to recreate those repeatable goal opportunities that you see a lot of really elite teams creating, getting to the byline, cutting it back to the penalty spot, cutting it back to the edge of the 6-yard box, and getting goals that way. Really like really like in theory how this could work for the rest of the year. So another thing that the blog goes into is how role rotations and player rotations are going to work this year, and it's been massively overhauled, massively tweaked, and in the match engine you can actually see how the players interact with each other, switch positions, and create overloads in certain areas. So theoretically you can start to create, again, I'm going to say it again, these real world situational formations that happen in games. So for example, you're going to have a box-to-box running forward, you're going to have Foden running forward. If you've got Grealish as an inside forward, he might cut into this channel, and if you've got an attacking wing back on this side, they're going to be creating a wall, like an attacking wall essentially. With your libero stepping up, you could potentially have an inverted wing back dropping into midfield, creating that double pivot, and there will be allowances from players to fill in gaps, to shuffle over, to make sure that your tactic isn't lopsided. Watching it happen in real time is really fun, actually. Watching these players switch positions, drop in, fill for other people, as long as you don't have too many conflicting instructions or too many players who want to be in the same position all the time, you can really see these players rotating, moving around, looking like a real game. And that's something I've really enjoyed exploring in this access that I've had. The new tactical engine will even let you do the wackiest stuff that I can think of in terms of vacating your defense, getting them into playmaking positions, and still having it look tactically okay on the pitch. So theoretically, we could have Akanji and Diaz getting high up the pitch, Gvardiol sitting in midfield, Rodri dropping into one of these defensive slots, because now halfbacks will drop into wide or central slots, depending on where they're needed, and having Ake and Walker filling out the wider slots there as well. In theory, this could work, but will it actually work in a game environment? Let's have a look, shall we? So here we are with the brand new match day experience as well. There has been, as shown once again in those blogs, a big change to the matchday experience, how the camera looks, how the stadiums look, just the feel of the whole thing. And honestly, it feels loads better. It's not FIFA. I mean, FIFA's not FIFA anymore, is it? But it's just another improvement on the matchday experience for me. And again, something that I'm sure other people will go into a lot more, and something that will be highlighted a lot more as the game and the year goes on. One other thing that does feel a load better this year is the ball movement. You can see here, like the velocity, the actual physics of the ball movement, it feels a lot more realistic this year. It's not fizzing around as quickly at 100 miles an hour. There's a lot more loft, a lot more air on things. As such, defenders and other players seem to anticipate the ball and the ball movement a lot better. So there's a lot less of those whiffed headers by centre-backs that you see in this year. But here's a perfect example of how the in-possession instructions work. So we can see here, Kyle Walker is still sitting deep. We've got Manuel Akanji, who's a wide centre-back, still sitting back there. And Nathan Ake is a wide centre-back on the other side, keeping his position. But Rodri is dropping a little bit deeper. We've got Ruben Diaz charging into midfield to offer that support. So we are seeing these defensive instructions and where these players end up in a possession state. So here we can see there's a back three there made up of Akanji, Walker, and Nathan Ake. You got Rodri, Ruben Diaz, and Gvardiol. So Gvardiol has been playing as an inverted wing back on that left-hand side, cutting inside the midfield. We've got a midfield three. Kovacic, who's playing as a volante, a segundo volante in attack. It's getting higher up the pitch, playing balls in behind for Bernardo Silva. And we're seeing that change in defensive to offensive setups. And oh my god. Well, I say the ball physics have stopped the ball flying at 100 miles an hour. It doesn't stop Erling Haaland from having a leg like a traction engine. So yeah, that flew into the top corner at a rate of knots. But as you can see, again, just like the ball movement, the way that the players are reacting to it, all feels so much better this year. It's a real nice bit of interplay here between the defenders and the midfielders. And you can see a lot of the player physics as well, like not just the ball moving around, but the way that the players' bodies move. Once again, just gives us a better, more realistic feeling that we're actually watching a game of football. It wasn't always the case in last year's game, and it wasn't always the case in games games previous either, where things just seemed a little bit janky. People seemed to float around a little bit. They didn't interact properly. This year, a lot of players, the movements, the way they drop deep, move forward, and just the body shape and position feels so much better this year. And because of things like this, the matchday experience, the way that you can tactically recreate things, the way that you can tactically create absolute madness, and it kind of look like it makes sense in a match engine as long as you logically think about it. I'm loving it. I've really enjoyed the early access. Hopefully you've enjoyed this early look at the match engine. Once again, thank you to Sports Interactive for giving me access to the game early and allowing me to make this pre-release video for you. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Hopefully you enjoyed the rest of the videos that come for the rest of the year as well. I've got some good plans for the channel this year, so hopefully you'll subscribe, join me on the journey, and you can also catch me live playing this and other games over on twitch.tv/bigmeaty. Well, thanks for dropping in. Subscribe if you're new, hit a like down below, and I'll see you next time.